now going to get on to player absences. This is something that happens from time to time. Of course, people having work, people being busy, personal life, people won't be there, or DMs might have to cancel last minute emergencies.
People getting sick.
Yeah, people getting sick, that kind of stuff. But it's your job as a player and as a DM to at least give your players or your DM a heads up on when you are going, if you're not going to make it. Because DMs probably spend upwards of 20 plus hours preparing for a session.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And your absence will affect the session. To put that into perspective, as a DM, you've got to go, okay, I've got 5 players, they're all at level whatever. I need to put monsters in that will give them a good combat experience. Now, if you don't show up and you don't let your DM know, they've thrown enough monsters in for 5 people. All of a sudden there's 4 people and your party are now struggling on a much grander scale because these monsters were geared for 5 people. So as respect, you should always let your DM know if you're not going to make it, if you're sick, if you're going to be late, that kind of thing, because the DM can, extend out a conversation or whatever else to get to the combat or put your character on hiatus on the side of the table until you arrive. There's a million ways to go about it, but just be mindful.
Episodes last a bit longer for some reason. A tavern brawl. You can easily.
There's ways around it, but if your DM doesn't know you're arriving late or if you're not showing up, they're definitely going to write a scenario for all the players on the table, and if you're not there, then it does affect what's happening.
If you do, constantly don't show up, then the DM can, that's an issue as well that happens.
Yeah, well, I've personally had someone live down the road who said they can't get here, and they're literally down the road. Whereas I've got another player who works all the time, and they always let me know, hey, I'm working today. I'm not going to make it to this session. I'll be there next session, but I'm not making it today. And the difference between those 2 players is astronomical.
Yeah.
Just because one of them just, wanted to sleep in. Yeah.
One of them takes the effort to let you know, and it shows they care.
Well,
which is
you
a great
also know
thing.
that they are working hard anyway, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, he might forget because we're all busy people.
So, life takes over. That life is going to happen. Doesn't matter how well prepared you are as a DM, life gets in the way. An accident, family, or whatever else, work calls you in. There's always going to be something. It's your job as a player or as a DM. If I've got something going on, or you, it's your job to let the other table people know.
A good rule of thumb I have is bare minimum 24 hours. Heads up, because sometimes you have stuff sprung on you last minute. But I always try and give them at least 24 hours at the latest. At best, maybe 2-3 days. But again,
the more time you can give your DM, the more they can structure that combat around your absence. It's only if it's a combat scenario, but it does affect a lot. Don't get me wrong, when you are working on that
combat, social encounters, stuff has to be readjusted.
Especially with certain party members, if it is the cleric or the person especially if it's someone's story as well.
If
it's someone's story and they're not there, well, can you still run the story?
How do you run the personal story arc if that person's not there?
But that's...
Yep.
Go with the flow as a DM.
Yeah.
This topic will be about combat rules and the kind of rules you'll encounter during combat, such as crits, flanking, because everyone has their own variation of what goes on during combat. Every table has their own homebrew stance on it. For me personally, for crits, I've come across 3 different rulings just on crits alone. So it's really good. It's a really good idea to think that out in advance and let your players know, because sometimes I get confused. I think you've noticed I'll constantly ask, how do we do crits again?
Because each show is different.
Combat rules for DMs that are new can be found in the Dungeon Master's Guide on page 247 onwards. If you're a new DM, recommend following those unless you've got a veteran on the table that says, hey, this works a little better, it's more streamlined, and then you can talk about that home homebrew rule and then add it to your table. But that's a homebrew rule would be added into your 0 session, so that way everybody knows, or session 1, depending on how you want to approach that. If you're looking for, in the player's handbook, you're looking for rules, that will be on page 195, and that will go through your combat rules in that book. So for most players, it will be in the player's handbook. If you're the DM, Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yep. And it's just recommended to read these rules because you will be doing a lot of combat.
Yep.
D&D is based on combat. We're not going to break down all the individual rules. There's a lot to cover with that. There would be a separate video if we were going to break that down. All we're doing at the moment is the table rule side of things. So for combat rules, we'll just point you in the direction of the pages within there to have a read through. And main thing, like you've said, the crits for me is one thing. What about you, Phil? You come across anything that's a table rule that...
The flanking, often the size requirement flanking, that's weird, because often it's like you got to be at each side. Other ones say you got to have more than, or the one I use, you got to have more. I think if it's a large, you got to have 3 huge, 4 gargantuan. You can't flank gargantuan. It's that's your dragons and your titans. So depends. But I don't know what the ruling is in the book about flanking exactly. Besides the opposite sides.
That's one of the cases of you've been to enough tables and you just pick up rules. See, that will happen a lot if you go table to table. You just absorb their rulings and you take it as raw, which happens every now and again, which is okay.
Yeah.
But flanking, in case you didn't know, is completely optional, but a lot of tables I've played at love to have it because it adds in numerical superiority, which is nice.
Yeah.
So sometimes beating up a huge tree is hard enough. It just helps to have another person side by side wailing on it.
Yeah.
But just remember, whatever rule you add for your players, the DM gets to add for the monsters.
Yes.
So if you're allowed to flank as a player with 2v1, then prepare for 2 monsters to come into you and get the same rule. That's how I play it as a DM.
Yeah.
So
otherwise it wouldn't be fun.
No.
It's fun if everyone's on the same playing field
page.
And everything's, equal as it can be. I don't think it'll ever be like equal fighting a dragon.
You're never going to get a fair fight when it comes to D&D because every creature has a way to fight against that advantage you have against them.
But just as long as the rules are fair, then that's fine.
So most combat rules will be set out by your DM, so it is a good conversation to have before you start.
Yep.
If you're the DM, it's a good idea to read through what rules you're comfortable with and what ones you might want to modify before starting your sessions and get everyone on the table comfortable with what you've decided on. That way there's no arguments on the table or rules, lawyering when it comes to that.
This rule's better than that rule.
If it's agreed upon before you sit down, it saves all of those hassles.
Yeah.
Like you said previously, it would be a fantastic time to talk about it during the 0 session.
Yeah, 0 sessions are great for that. And we'll do a 0 session video after this one.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to dice rolls. Dice rolls incorporate rolling on the table or into a dice tray, which most people should have nowadays. If not, you can pick it up at your local game store. When rolling your dice, in the dice tray if you have one, if it comes out of the dice tray, re-roll it into the tray. If you're rolling onto a table and it hits the floor, pick it up and roll it back on the table. Again, that's entirely up to your DM. Your DM may like that if it falls on the floor, it's a fail. That's, if you can't hit the table, you can't hit the creature.
It depends how small the table you got as well. Like this table, understandable, but some dice is
some bounce. Please be aware, I have run into an instance where we were playing at somebody's house and they had metal dice on a brand new wooden table and they rolled straight on the table the day this new table arrived and put dents all over it, and they were just sitting there rolling it, and I'm like, what are you doing? Please be mindful of the surface you are rolling on if you have metal dice, because it will dent wood. Other things to look at with dice are cock dice. So that's a dice not quite sitting on a number, up to your DM, but generally you re-roll
plays
that.
often it's like a two-player thing. Like, yeah, the players will say cock because sometimes the DM, depending on how big your table is, might be on the opposite end.
Yeah.
So, you know...
And they don't like to roll and say, oh, that's cocked, and just re-roll it. I mean, dice honesty for me, I'm a big fan of dice honesty.
Yeah.
If you roll the dice, you don't touch it until till your turn is over. That way, Phil or Joe and Bob or Bob and Bill, however they can see that dice and they can go, oh, damn, you were close. If you roll it and then pick it up, I see that as a dishonest move.
Yeah.
Because if you can't leave it there for other people to see, then, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes when you want to, it's hard to see the die and you have that urge to pick it up and have a close look. Don't do that. Move closer so you don't disrupt it.
Yeah.
Or ask someone else to look at it as well. Because that's something I ran into personally, is someone who would be like cornering their dice, like, oh, it's that, so other people don't see it.
Yeah.
That's just as bad as picking it up as far as I'm concerned. Like, if you have to hide the dice, then
Great rule, player confirmation. I've rolled, and another player's like, oh yeah, that's a good roll.
Yeah.
And they know what it is. That's fine. You avoid that kind of dishonesty because you will come across some people who do that.
Look, for me, the whole game is crit hits and crit fails. Most of the fun I've had in this game have been on fails. Roll a 1, it changes everything, and a lot of fun scenarios come from low rolls. Don't be scared to roll low. Josie, when she was rolling 1s all the time, that was funny for the group. I don't know.
Especially when she had like the lucky rabbit's foot, and that made her re-roll, and she would roll back even
worse.
just as bad.
A low roll doesn't mean you're a bad character. It just means you haven't had luck that day. Yeah. Embrace your low rolls. There's no, if that really needs to happen, if you really need to make that jump, well, if you fall, that changes everything, and it can create a whole new feel for combat. It can, I don't know, embrace your bad rolls. They're part of D&D.
Nothing forces improv like a bad roll.
Yeah.
Nothing changes the flow. I have been in a combat situation where I have changed the flow of combat entirely by just not rolling well.
Yeah.
I have turned what should be an okay encounter to a near TPK.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't open this door. The 1s are too hard. Don't be afraid of 1s. Don't be afraid of low rolls. They really do enhance the game of D&D. If you've got someone who's constantly rolling 19, 20, 19, 20, 18, 19, 20, there's something up. I mean, they may be lucky. That may be their day. But I don't find fun in D&D in always succeeding. It's like, building a min-max character where I'm the be-all and end-all, I have no flaws. What's the use of being there? Because if you don't have any flaws, you'll never fail. If you don't fail anything, you're never going to have any fun, because not being able to open a door and a door getting the better of you can be the best laugh you'll ever have.
Yeah. What can be like a 5-minute, I don't know, tangent in combat. Oh no, he's gonna die if he falls.
Yep.
And he's rolling terrible. Could just be like an easy smoothing counter.
Yeah. Yep.
But Revivify and the dude that died because he fell down the stairs would be the funniest thing, social encounter.
So as for dice rolls, as a DM myself, I'm very much, you roll on the table, someone else has to verify, or you're not allowed to touch your dice until your turn is over. That way it just keeps it all clear. There's no misconceptions as to what you rolled.
Just one thing to add. One thing that I've seen happen before, I just remembered it, is rolling before you either declare it or are asked for it.
Yeah.
So it's like you're rolling, oh yeah, I'm rolling stealth, I got a good roll. That shouldn't count, because how many times have you rolled? It could only have been once, and you're honest, but sometimes that doesn't happen. Yeah. So for a roll to count, I like to have it be declared or asked for, and as soon as you finish rolling, that's it.
Yeah. That's a great point. Rolling continually, and when you get a 20, just leaving it and going, I already pre-rolled for that. No. Roll again.
Sometimes you fidget, which is okay. Try and not fidget with your dice. Find something.
do blue tack.
Yeah,
If you're fidgety, get some blue tack or something like that.
There's also advantage, disadvantage. Like some people roll their dice like, oh wait, I have advantage on that, and would roll 2 additional dice once they've already rolled. Well, technically you just roll 1, but some people will roll 2, and that's the same with disadvantage. And I feel like it's more players than DMs. When they have disadvantage, they'll forget it.
Yep.
While players will always remember advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
just
that's
and
part of
that's
it.
being honourable and respectful. Because there are times I forget I have disadvantage on stuff, but at the same time,
And sometimes it breaks the soul to go, hey DM, you should actually be rolling with advantage.
Yeah.
I've had to do that a few times. But poison, biggest.
Yeah.
You have disadvantage on attacks. No one actually remembers that. They always think it's ability checks. It's also on attacks.
Yep.
Just too easy to forget.
That's something you as a DM should be keeping track of, although you've got monsters, players, and abilities.
Sometimes there's a lot going on and it slips. Try not to retcon.
Yeah.
If it happened last round, it happened. Just from this point onwards,
We'll remember to do it.
Remember it.
Yep.
If it happened like just then, you can, if you want, you can fix it or just move on. Remember it.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
If you as a player forget something and it's not your turn now, let it go. Bring it in next turn. Say, I forgot this last turn, but I'll add it this turn. Disadvantage, advantage.
Damage
it gets
sometimes as well. I
mean, you're going to forget stuff. There's a lot to remember in D&D.
Concentration
checks, but that's off the topic. But regardless of, there is a lot to remember, and sometimes you will forget that advantage, disadvantage roll. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just get on with it.
Yeah, just remember honesty and honor go a long way.
Yeah, I think it's much better to roll honestly and with honor, or be an honest dice roller. It's going to enhance your fun, and then you've got nothing to worry about. You've got nothing to hide. You can continue enjoying what's happening on the table.
The chaos.
Yeah, the chaos on the table. That's what you're there for, the fun of it. And with the good comes the bad, and with the bad comes the good. So embrace your bad dice rolls.
Yeah. Next topic we're on to is play styles. Each player you're going to have unique play styles. Some people like to be more role players or the actors of the party, where they really don't care about the combat, but they more care about the social stuff. So they'll play the bards or the paladins that are very much like, I am righteous, or hey, I am a deviant. Yours.
Yeah, within that you're going to get your murder hobos.
They're going to cause a lot of chaos for you as a DM or even as a player. They're going to be the people that want to be chaotic, stupid, or chaotic evil in your campaign and will want to kill everything. Or if someone's having a meeting with the king, they're like, oh, I would like to kill the king to cause chaos. And then you're going to either have to be like, no, stop it, or you get...
Deal with it.
Deal with it, or you get guards are on your ass, you get hold person.
Well, that's something I'd like to... for murder hobos, I've seen a lot of posts on forums of my players are murder hobos, how do I deal with them? As a DM, you've got all the power there. They might be killing what you've put in front of them, but that just means you get to put more in front of them.
Yeah.
Oh, they went into a town and murdered everyone. Well, the next town overheard about the murder in the town, and the group that did it, or...
extra guards in this town.
Extra guards in this town, or
bounty.
We're shutting down shops.
Yep.
We're not going to sell to anyone because there's murder hobos on the loose.
So
all doors are closed. So
Yeah.
now you need to buy. There's no one to buy from because you're killing everyone. There are ways and means around murder hobos. As a DM, it's really good to have a look at what tools are available to you to deal with them.
Yep.
Because you've got the power. Add more guards, bounty hunts,
The king doesn't like people going around murdering villagers. What has he done?
Yeah.
Is he increasing patrols in the area? Do they know who they're looking for? Like you said, bounty hunters. Oh, mercenaries. Hey, so there's a group of 5 people just going around murdering people for fun. I want you to go kill them and bring me their heads.
Yep.
Did they kill someone who was actually important? Was that urchin down the corner that they just stabbed to death, was he a part of the Thieves Guild?
Yeah.
Now the Thieves Guilds are like, they're killing our people.
Yep. You've got the power as a DM, so just think about who they're killing and then act accordingly. If it's, Bob, who's a poor woodcutter in the forest, who's he work for?
Yeah.
Who's his family? Who are they attached to? Who are they married to? He might be Bob in the forest, but his sister's married to the king.
Yeah.
You're like, well, his sister's married to whoever, and you've got power there. Don't forget, he's on the council, whatever, at the king's hand. Who cares? Like, you have power to pull in whatever you need. Oh, monsters, you name it. You can... Bounty hunters can have a creature to bring in with them, a death hound or whatever else you can think of to hunt them down. Oh, we're hiding in this bush over here. No worries, this thing can sniff you out. It's got true sight, whatever.
There's so many monsters that can even monster hunters would use to track other monsters. That's just common stuff they would use. But best way to hunt something is to have something that can track it, because they're utility. Out of the wazoo.
So never be worried as a DM, and I see a lot of posts about how do I stop my murder hobo. Come up with better stuff. Come up with ideas that are going to stop them. Yeah. The more you kill, the more you hunt it. It's simple as that.
It helps to keep in mind that it is a world and it reacts.
Yeah.
You interact with it and it interacts back. It's a give and take situation. There's always going to be a reaction.
Yeah, I can give an example. In my campaign, I gave my rogue a job. He was a gem hunter. I gave him a job to go to a mine. He didn't ask what the job was. He just went to the mine, and when he got to the mine, there was goblins there. So he's gone in stealth mode and started murdering all the goblins. By the time he got to the end, the king goblin was like, "Why are you murdering my family?" And he's like, hang on, you can talk? He's like, yeah, this is my mine. I work for the king. Why are you killing all my workers, my family? It put him into a different thought pattern instantly. He was meant to do work for this goblin, but because it was a goblin, he just started killing him. They had weapons in their hands, but they were used to scrape the materials off the walls. He just saw goblins, went for it. The king ended up burning a symbol into his head that makes all goblins not want to deal with him ever. He is known as a goblin slayer, so now he can't approach goblin merchants, go to goblin areas. He's totally goblin screwed. That was my way of showing him that your actions had consequences. There's always a way to deal with murder hobos. Yeah.
But don't forget, talking is also an option.
Try there is that.
Try and employ some diplomacy. If one player is being too much of a murder hobo, ask him to rein it in and to let loose when it's combat or at the right time. Let him temper his murderous urges. Try and talk before.
A zero session. Good place to talk to your players and say, are you a murder hobo? If you are, I will give you scenarios where you can cut sick, but rein it in till then.
This will lead back into mutual respect. Everyone's there to have fun, and it helps them know what your players want out of it, so you can cater towards them. One wants to be a murder hobo. It's not the end of the world. Just put stuff in for him, and as long as he's respectful, there are a few other words I could use, it should be okay.
Bloodlust is quenched.
Anything else you want to put under that one?
You'll have quiet players. You'll definitely have quiet players. So people who don't want to, they might grow into the actors or role players, but some people just want to see how the game goes, and then they might speak up. So don't try to force the spotlight onto certain... some players are quiet players, and forcing the spotlight might hide them back into their shell.
Let them come out of their own shell at the time.
Give them the opportunity, but don't force them. Because as someone who can be quite shy on a new table, because you're still trying to understand the dynamic of everything, it's a lot to take in. Just ease people in if they're quiet. Other times you'll get a player who hits the table running, and he is, I don't know, Zoro the Barbarian. And he likes cheese. And he'll RP that to the extreme.
If people bring cheese to the table, he'll be like, oh! He's like...
There's as many different play styles as there are people.
But those are like the three major ones
Yeah,
that you'll come across, especially as a new DM
Yep.
or even veteran. You'll come across a whole spectrum of
Yeah.
players.
You just got to be mindful on the table that there's going to be all different types.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just have a pre-chat and figure out what they are.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
Well, they might not know. If they're a new player, they won't know what they're into.
No.
It'll take a few sessions for everyone to start to feel comfortable on the table.
Yeah.
That's definitely a gimme. Yep.
This right now we'll be talking about sharing the spotlight, and what that means is during a session there are going to be times when, because you have like the right skills or for story related reasons, you'll be doing a lot of the work pushing the story forward. And what we mean by sharing a spotlight is sometimes you're going to have nothing to do. You're not going to have any relevant skills, or it's not going to be the story's not going to be focusing on you, and it's going to be another player's time to shine. And what you should do is sit back and let them shine instead of trying to undermine them and take the spotlight off them, because everyone wants to show off their character and have a chance to really let them, show them what they can do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not fun when you take away from them that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because they could have made that character all about investigating.
Yeah.
It could be in their backstory. They worked the underground looking for crime gangs, and looks like it's their time. The DMs put this in there for them. Let them have it.
Yep.
You'll have a time when you can shine just like them. And so, yeah, just spread out the love.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're all there to have fun. So,
Yep.
That doesn't mean someone who doesn't have a skill set can't do roles or do that spotlight kind of stuff. Like, for instance, Fever Tools, for instance. I might have proficiency at, Nathan or Bob might have, expertise. Doesn't mean I can't give it a go. And Bob like, oh, do you want to learn how to do it? Add story, adds an extra spotlight, and I might not be as good as Bob is, but, I'm giving it a go. And that's not something you can't do.
Yeah,
that's always... Yeah.
That's a really good point. Sometimes there's overlap.
Yeah.
And what I like, because in one campaign I'm the perception guy.
Yeah.
I have a really good survival.
Yeah.
But the survival's pretty equal amongst like 3 players.
Yeah.
What I really love is just going, no, I'm not doing it. Someone else can do it.
Yeah.
Because it gets boring if you're just known as, all right, you've got good eyes and you know how to track. So that's your role. It's just nice to let other people do what you're good at.
Yeah, like the people that can't actually see at night. Hey, you rolled the perception check.
Yeah. I think I did that to you.
Yeah, you did that a few times. Nighttime
yeah.
watch. You do the perception checks. I sleep. He has like plus 16 and I have like a 4.
So it's also good to take in mind introverts and extroverts.
Yeah.
So some people are introverted, which means they're less likely to speak up, less likely to put the attention of the table on themselves.
Yeah.
It's if you're an extrovert and you're flamboyant and your character's flamboyant and you've got a lot to say, that's amazing. That's really what you want. But keep in mind, there's other people on the table. Like if you can see Bob in the corner, hasn't said anything for an hour, maybe ask them a question as your character. Bring them back into it. Don't force the spotlight on them, but include them on the table. Yes, you're allowed to have your own flair, your own characteristics, your own spotlight, so to speak. But don't forget, everyone has taken the time out of their day to come to that table to share this time with you. Yeah. And it's not all about you. It's not about me. It's not about the DM. It's about the table and the group. So it's a matter of reminding yourself that everyone here deserves a chance to speak, to have a bit of a moment, to share their limelight. And their story may be amazing, but if you continually do your story or override what they're trying to say, you're never going to hear what they've got. So just keep in mind that
as well.
Some people are quiet and they're the people that probably have the best stories to tell.
Yeah.
Be sure to share the spotlight and give everyone a chance to shine.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't do everything. because there's other people on the table. That's,
Well, it's not D and U, it's D and D.
Yeah, the table isn't there to watch a solo session.
No.
Everyone's there to have fun.
Yeah.
But you
Sometimes,
don't love solo sessions.
sometimes someone will take charge and push stuff forward, and sometimes that's needed. But just remember, it's okay to take a step back and be mindful.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, some people might be quiet.
Yeah.
Give them the opportunity to shine.
Well, like you said, if you're really good at everything, maybe step back and go, okay, cool. We know I can do it. If everyone's failing, I'll step up. Let's see what you guys can do.
Yeah.
You've never had a go at an investigation. How about you have a go? I want to see what you can do. Give that.
Something I even do. I have a negative in Arcana as one of my characters. Where people are like, bro, Arcana check. I'm like, I'll go for it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a druid. I don't care about magic, but I find it amusing that one day I'm rolling that 20. I'm like, I know exactly what
I know
I'm doing.
exactly. Yeah, and again, that creates good content for your table. So, just remember to share it with the table.
Yeah.